Good afternoon, April 12th. It is Friday afternoon. PA just wrapped up. Dallas wrapped up Wednesday. California wrapped up Wednesday. The Vindex this week is 8649, which is up half a tick from last week. Remember, it's a complicated algo that we put that through, but it's also a profitability algo. So it's not... You'll see this thing slide around with market. It's not a valuation of the fleet of cars. It's not an MMR number. It's more of a VIX. It's more of a desirability number and a profitability number for wholesale transactions. Recapture. It's about the same as last week, obviously. Last week was 8,500, but a touch better. You know, we bought them a touch cheaper, but when I say that, I'm talking 100 a car. So on 920 cars that we sold this week, you know, that's $92,000, which is a lot of money. But when you mix that into $31 million worth of transactions, that's 0.296%, less than half of 1%. And as crazy as that sounds, with what we do, and we get so close to the bring money with what we give and how we trade, these little ticks make a big difference. Rebates. They're big on new cars. That's affecting things. That's where your holes are. That's where your traps are. Watch out on the next to new. And really, plain versus gear. When you hear me say gear, that means it's got equipment. When it's plain, base, that's exactly what it means. You know, when you get into these 23 trucks, why does this one bring, 52,000 and MMR's 50, and the next one brings 47,000 and MMR's 50? It's gear. MMR can't tell you about gear, different levels of lariats, different levels of all this stuff. Does it have a center console? Does it have the bigger wheel? Does it have this? Does it have that? Does it have the big screen? Does it have the small screen? Does it have power seat on the passenger side? Is it a hard lariat or a soft lariat, as we call it? Does it have air-conditioned seats? Escalates. Do they have retractable boards? Same with trucks, and Yukon Denali's. These are big add items that make a difference. And you can't just look at MMR and say, oh, it's going to do MMR. Oh, my God, that one did so great. Well, see, that one that did so great, we pay more for to get it bought because we expect it to do great because it's a hard-geared car. Or it's a 3-year-old rig with 11,000 miles and it's going to go over. Anyway, cargo vans were okay this week, which was weird, which was good. We've all made some surprise money on cargo vans here and there. Those Ford Transit vans and the Dodge, whatever they're called, Ram, whatever. I don't know what they're called. But those goofy-ass looking vans that we all made so much money on during COVID. Saw a little lift on some of that. With good miles. Crappy miles, nah, still junk. When we were dissecting our sale Thursday morning, we got into this Escalade V, which is not a car that is regularly traded, obviously. I think it's illegal because I don't think you're allowed to sell them. You sign a contract with General Motors that you're not allowed to sell them for a year, which everybody ignores and does anyway, kind of like the Cybertrucks. And actually, the Cybertrucks didn't fall 10,000 this week either. But back to this V. I don't know the specifics, but I'm going to get you real close. You have an Escalade V with an MMR of 150 grand with 100 miles on it. Then you bring one in with 8,000 miles on it. It has an MMR of 120. 30,000 less. How can that be? That means the computer can't keep up. That means that the algorithm in Mannheim is wrong. And that's why you have to use your brain. So it overcorrected that car. So that car, quote unquote, oversold a little bit. But the reciprocal can happen on the downside. So you need to play with different miles when you're getting erroneous MMR returns. And if 80,000 is this one with 10,000 miles, and then you put one in with 60,000 miles and it says 60,000. I'm using a generic car again. Let me start over. We got an $80,000 MMR on a Yukon, right? Something with 10,000 miles. And then you put in, I'll make it more extreme, an 80,000 mile, same Yukon, and MMR on it 60. That's a trap. It's not worth 60 unless it's a shipper, and the shipper thing's really not that on anymore. This isn't 1997 again. So you need to plug in for 40,000 miles instead of 80. And it's 60. Well, how can that be? Because MMR is not that good. I'm not knocking Mannheim. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just teaching you how to read it. This is where errors occur. Well, I thought 80 was high, and I thought 60 sounded high, so I gave 58 figuring to do MMR. It won't do MMR. How do you know? You got to have experience. Well, you need a good wholesaler. Call GiveMeTheVin.com, right? That's what keeps us in business. This is what keeps you in business. Nobody knows this is not a perfect science. There is a lot of variable in it. There's still art. Computers have not figured it out, and neither is AI. Everybody's working on it. We'll see how it comes out. But I'm not worried about my job for quite a while, and I don't think you are either. But these levels, and then, you know, we could spend a whole afternoon on condition reports and grades. Fleet lease versus repo versus the wholesalers versus these guys, you know, get CR credit. These guys don't. You know, our guys and myself, we've been complaining that we're getting abused in the CR department. And I'm sure people that watch our lane are like, oh my God, your CRs, you're so lucky. You wouldn't believe how unlucky we get. You wouldn't, you just, and how much recon we do to these cars to get them to a grade that is 3.5 or better. Because you guys don't want them if they're not 3.5 or better. So we have to recon around it to get it there. We spend a ton of money every week getting these cars to where they're closer to front line so they can score properly. And you do too if you're in the wholesale business or the retail business. I mean, you've got the spray guy on your back lot doing bumpers, and you've got the wheel guy, $200 a wheel, fixing that. Come on, people, quit calling me. You don't have to edit that out. This is just a quick little video. But, you know, if you do see a 3.2, can you buy it cheaper? Yeah. Can you recon it for less than what it would cost if it's a 3.9 and you can get it to a 3.9 for your customer on your retail lot? Yeah, more than likely. But a lot of these institutional buyers, hard 3.5 or hard 3.7 cutoff. And this grading system is just all over the place, man. Mannheim says that they're going to change their grading system. They've got a uniform grading system. It's going to use AI. It's going to be all this great stuff. I think that's 2 years out, but I'm sure it's going to have a ton of problems too. I assume that they'll all go from 3.5s to 2.5s whenever they do that. And then everybody's head will explode, and then we'll change our bars around because the cars aren't changing. It's just the brand they put on them. And speaking of brands, man, that structural's a bitch, isn't it? When you get a kink in the trunk floor and it gets a frame call on it. That is our, because how could you check for a Corolla or an Accord when you're buying it off a customer and you have a buyer that's not a wholesaler like you and I that's going to crawl under the thing with a flashlight and know what he's looking at? It's impossible. Small guys, sure, you can do it. When you're spending your own money and you're just looking at a couple of cars, absolutely. I used to do it too. But if you're trying to scale it and volume it, it's absolutely impossible. And it's just really disappointing when you get a car that takes a strike like that and you have to announce it with structural for something that's stupid. And, you know, it regrades it, and then the MMR goes to the floor because the new grade, and then you're worried about the Carfax, and then da-da-da-da-da. And I guess that's why it's a business, because there's a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and there's a lot of variable in it, and everybody's trying to figure out what's what and who's up and who's down, and make our money on those little edges, on those little folds, the little envelopes. And that's what we've been doing. I've been at it 30 years. I'm sure some of you guys are thinking about getting into it. Some of you guys have been into it for 50 years. It takes this whole crazy, huge breadth of dealer body to do what we do, and we appreciate you. And I hear from so many of y'all that you appreciate us, and it's a neat little community we have. I'm enjoying doing these videos for you. I love the positive feedback. And I used to look in the back of Black Book Market Matters once a week, if you remember. The Black Book guy would print up a little one-pager of what was going on in the lanes. And that's really what this Vindex is. This is my version of that, because none of us are holding books anymore. And there's so much data out there and all these big reports. The reports are so full of shit. Oh, God almighty. I mean, What I'm bringing you on Fridays is what happened this week, because you know what we don't know is what's going to happen next week. We don't know. We ride that wave. We speculate it. It's like Vegas with the games. You know, they're setting the lines. Alabama's playing LSU. Well, what about that quarterback? Well, you know, he's been drinking a lot. You know, he broke up with his girlfriend. It might affect the line. There's all these little things. Carfax, minor Carfax. Toyota's got not enough inventory, but Tundras are high in inventory. And Nissan's overloaded. They're on 100-something day supply, but the rebates are this and that, and MMR's this. And if you look at MMR on a next to new, it's the same as what you can buy it for at the Nissan store. But on which models? And I don't have time to go through all that with you guys because it would take me 2 hours. So all I can do is tell you where to look and what to pay attention to. And next week I will put up some. I need to do another rebate schedule. I'm sorry I don't have time this week, but that is helpful. Looking at those top 20, 30 models that have the heaviest rebates, because those are the ones that are going to be back of MMR the most. And that's really what we're looking for, is trying to avoid potholes and avoid fire pits. So, see you in the lanes next week. We'll have another 1,000 cars for you, or 900, right around there, in the Gimme the VIN lanes, where we sell through them, win, lose, or draw. I think we did 97.2% conversion this week. And it hurts, and it's great. You just got to ride the wave. But the key is you have to have enough cars to catch the average. If you only have 2, then it's different. If you have 22, then it's like playing cards. You need a fuller deck, and you can catch some better odds on some of these intricacies that I'm talking about. See you next week. See you next Wednesday. Thank you for your time. And we'll be on the radio tomorrow morning. Saturday morning, jcwshow.com starts at 7 on the East Coast, and we go till 11 West Coast. There's 6 hours of radio show every Saturday morning. It's got some car in it, but it's a lot of just kind of radio morning show talk crap, entertainment, locker room talk a little bit. I enjoy it. I've been doing it 18 years. And you can also watch it right here on the YouTube channel. We stream it live right there. If you don't have we're in, I think, 66 markets around the country on classic rock stations. But if you don't like listening to the radio, you can watch it right here live on your YouTube or on the John Clay Wolf Show Facebook page, or you can watch it live on John Clay Wolf on Twitter or X or whatever it's called. Oh, Cybertrucks. I think we sold them for about the same price we did last week, which was really surprising because they've been dropping so hard. But there is some rumor of back orders, and they stopped delivering. I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet, but that makes sense if they quit the drop. So we'll see how that goes. I'll catch up with you next Friday. Thanks.